Alright guys, what's up? So I'm going to show you a simple process today of how we can fetch data from this OpenWeather API. So this is going to be a simple tutorial, I would say. So we're going to have a simple app here, and what will basically happen is when you enter the city name and search. So let's say currently we have Cape Town, and we're currently fetching for the temperature, the cloud, the icon, then the description as well as the fields like. So let's try to search for another city. Let's say Amazon, and this should be Coda. Okay, so it's currently 0 degrees there, and we have this icon of snow thing, and we have a light snow, and it feels like -4 degrees, and we have this snow icon. And let's try to search for another warmer place, say Lagos. Okay, so in Lagos it's currently 29 degrees Celsius, and it's having some light rains, and it feels like 33 degrees Celsius. So this is what we're going to do, and all this data is fetched from this API. The Open Weather Map, and what you just have to do is come here and create your own account, and you generate your own API. So what's going to happen here is when this video is done, I'm going to deactivate this, so it won't be of use to you even if you like copy the entire thing. So in here we're going to get this package called HTTP. So this is the package we're going to use to make HTTP requests to this API, and yeah, display its data right here. So with that being said, I think let's get started. Okay, so what we have in the main.dot is we're just calling this home screen from this file. So we made a folder called screens, and inside this folder we made a file called home screen. Then this folder has a blank scaffold, with a body having a column. So inside this column, this is where we're going to write the code for the user interface. So but before we do that, we have to create a few variables and a function that will be used for fetching the data from the API endpoint. But before we do that, let's first add this package. Okay, so we have to run this command, because if we don't do this, then it won't be able to work, because this is the package that we're going to use to make HTTP requests to this API. So, and then I have to copy this as well. So I just have to, but you don't have to copy this because you have to generate your own. I'll deactivate that as I said earlier. So here, then here we can just run this command. You type flutter pub add HTTP. Then once that has successfully been added to your project, you obviously see it down here. And I'm not using this .env thing. I want to make this as simple as possible. So then the first thing we're going to make is a text editing controller and a string that we're going to use to get the city name. And this string will be connected to the text editing controller, which is connected to the text field. So, and then we're going to have a map that's going to have a key string and a dynamic value. So yeah, a dynamic value that's going to allow any values of any type to be stored in this in a map. So that's going to be a map. So I feel like, let me explain it as I am coding, because this is going to take long if we keep doing this. So we're going to have a text editing controller. Then the next thing is we're going to have a string called city. Then we just default it to London. So we've created the string and initialized it to London, and a value of London, I mean. And the next thing we're going to have is a map that's going to have a key string and it's going to have expect dynamic values, and this can be nullable, and then we'll call this weather data. Then the next thing we're going to have is we're going to have a future function. Okay, so this basically waits for data to be loaded before it's displayed to the user interface. So we're going to say future, then it's going to be a void, then we'll call it fetch weather data, and it's obviously going to be an async function since we'll be waiting for data to be fetched before it's displayed. Okay, then we're going to set an API key. So we're going to say final, can't spell, final API key. Then we just grab this that we got from the OpenWeatherMap. Then okay. Then the next thing is we're going to have the URL. Then the next thing we're going to have is the API key. Then after that we're going to have a URL. Okay. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to have a try and catch. So try and catch. So inside the catch, we're going to just simply print if there's an error, we just print it out. No one wants to see that error. Then in here, we're going to have we're going to send a request and get the response, then decode that JSON that's going to come from the response that we'll get from the API endpoint. So the first thing we're going to say is final response. Then we're going to await. Then this is where we're going to use this package called HTTP. So we're just simply going to import it from here. Okay. We get it as HTTP. Then we say HTTP dot. Then we send the GET request to the API. Then inside here we're going to have a URI to parse the data. So we say dot parse. Then in here we're going to say we're just simply going to put the URL. Then we're going to have an if statement to check the status, the status of the data from fetching. So we're going to check the status of the response. So we say response dot status code. Then we just check if it's 200. Then we can set the state. So we say set state. Then inside the set state, we're going to say weather data. Then we decode this data that we decode the response we're from getting from this API endpoint. So inside here, I did explain this. So inside the URL, we have the city, of which is this one, and the API key as well. So this is an API endpoint that we have put these two in, and inside this weather data we're going to decode it. So we say JSON decode. Then we just put the response body. So that's all. So else, if that doesn't work, we're going to have an else. So else, we just throw an exception. So we just say throw. Then in here, we can just say failed to load data. Okay. So the next thing is we have to simply just get this and put it in a set state. Okay. And we just give this a semicolon as well. Then we're going to have an init function that's going to immediately call this when the app launches. So this init function runs when the app just starts. So we're going to say init. So this is more like an, yeah, I would say an initial function. Then in here, we're going to simply just going to call the fetch weather data. So this is what we have so far. Text editing controller, we have a string, then a map, then this function that's making the HTTP request, and getting the response from this API endpoint. Then here we're going to initially we're going to fetch the data initially for the default city, of which is London. Okay. Then from now we're going to dispose. So we're going to simply just say dispose. Okay. Then we are simply just going to dispose the city controller, the data that has been put in the city controller. So simply just going to say city controller dot dispose, just that. And now we're going to go in here and start working on the user interface. So first thing we're going to have is a text field. Okay, then we'll give it a controller. Then we just simply say city. We're just going to call the city controller. That's all. Then we're going to make this as basic as possible. So we just say import. Just give it a decoration. Then we give it a label. Okay. So this is what we have so far. So let's try to run this so that we start seeing how the user interface is looking, but it's so ugly, I'm sure. Then the next thing we're going to have is an icon button, where we're going to have the search icon. So this is going to have an on pressed. So when pressed, we're going to have a function in here. So this function, well, firstly going to have a set state. Then inside this set state, we're going to change the city from the default city that we have as London. Then we get the city from the controller. So we say city. So what this will do is when the user enters the new city here inside the controller, then they type it here. They then press on the icon button for the search. Then this will change the city to the text that has been entered in the text field. So here it's still in the on pressed. We're going to have the fetch weather data function. We're going to call it. Then we just simply call that. Then here we can give it a child. No, is it here? Yes, still here. So we have an icon. So we want these to be on the same line. So this is what we currently have. So if we refresh this, yeah, we still have that. Then I think the next thing that we have to get is the weather data. So we're going to style this after we get everything in check. So here we're still inside the column. So here we're going to say weather data. Then if it's now, we just have a circular progress indicator. So we say center. Okay. Then if not, we're going to give it a column. Then you just be children. Then we just give it a main axis alignment of center. Then the first thing we're going to have inside here is we're going to have the text for the city. Then we just simply say city for now. Okay, let's try to reload that. Okay, so since no data is being fetched, it will just be a circular progress indicator running there. So it's getting the city. So let's try to search for another city, say Lusaka. Okay, so that is working. So at least we're partially sure that some things are showing. So let's try to show something. Let me see. Let's see what this API endpoint is returning. Then we can go through that and see how we can fetch the each data, specifically each section of data. So we'll just copy this. Then inside the city, we'll replace with the city. We'll just remove this and replace with the city, and the API key, we just paste this API key in the browser. So let's try to do that. Okay, so this is where we have. Let's print it. So the weather, we have the main, which is clouds, description, scattered. Then we also have an icon here. So we're just simply going to get most of this data, and in the main we're going to get the temperature and the feels like as well. So all right, let's get to that. Since we're seeing this is the response that we're getting from the API endpoint, this JSON file. Then let's go back to our VS Code. So the next thing we're going to try and get is the temperature. So we'll say text. So inside this text, we're just simply going to call weather data. So we'll say weather data. Then we'll say main. So if you're confused, we're getting this main from where is that? Where is that? We're getting this main, then we're going to get this temperature here. Okay. Then the next thing we have to get is the temp. Then I feel like this is it. Then we just put this inside the string. Okay. Then let's see what we have. Let's try to refresh this. So this is what we currently have. We have 19.88 degrees Celsius. Okay. Then the next thing we're going to get is the icon. Okay. So this icon is what we have here. Okay. So we just say image dot network, because that's obviously an image. It's a network image that we're going to have. Then we're going to have the link to that image. So say HTTPS so this is in the weather. Then it's an icon. Okay, so yeah, it's in the weather, and it's an icon as well. So let's do this. So weather, then we do this, then we say icon. Then outside here we can say at 2x dot png. Okay. Okay, what issue is there? Okay, let's try to reload this. Let's see what we have. Okay, so we actually have this, though we can't see it clearly. So let's try to change the background color to be a bit darker. Say background. Background color. Then we'll give it to colors dot gray. Then give it a shade of 300. I think that won't look nice, but anyway, for demonstration purpose. Okay, we have the description. The next thing we're going to get is the description. Where is it? So this is the description, of which is scattered clouds. Then I feel like the other thing that we have to get is the feels like, which is here as well. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so this is the description. Then we just get the description here. Okay, so where is this? Okay, so we went in the weather, then the description, of which we're going to have, if we get to refresh this, it's going to show scattered clouds as well. No, is it scattered clouds? I think should be some light rains. Let's wait for that to load. Yeah, light rain. So this is just how easy you can fetch data from this API, guys. And all you need is this API key, and yeah, I think all you need is an API key and this API endpoint. And I feel like let's style this for now. Let's skip to style this. So okay, let's do this. So we're going to get these two and put them inside the row so that they be on the same line. So row, then we just do this. Then this is going to have children. Okay. Then we're just going to wrap this inside an expanded. Okay, let's try to load this. Okay, so this is what we have. These are in the same on the same line. Then I think let's just try to give this a padding. Okay, padding. Let's just say only. Then left 18. No. Let's give it 8. Okay, so let's see what we have. Okay, so the next thing we're going to give it, I think let's give it some sizing on top here, and yeah, let's give it some space on top. So as you can see, sized box, give it a height, and you can see let's just give it as much height as we can give it. Then we say 80. Okay, so this is what we currently have. Now this down here, we're going to wrap this. We can just simply put this inside a container, this whole thing. So we're going to copy all this, just cut it, then have a container. This container is going to have a height of 300. Then the width of, we give it 350. Okay, then the child, can give it this child, and it can be a column. The main axis alignment, so we want everything to be on the left end of this container. Then we just give it to start. Then you can say children. Then you can just paste these inside here. So okay, let's see what we have. Let's try to refresh this. So this is what we have currently. Okay, nothing has changed, so we can just simply do this. We can give it a cross-axis alignment so that it goes to this side. Then we can give it a cross-axis alignment of start. Okay, so let's see that. So all this will move to this side. Then as that is loading, let's give it the the container, let's give it a color. So we can just put it inside the decoration because we're going to have a lot of styles in here. Then we can simply just give it the color. Then we say 100. Okay, then let's try to see that. Don't mind this, my VS Code is just having issues. I don't know what's wrong. It's showing errors where there are no errors, so I'll have to get that fixed. Okay, so this is what we have so far. And I think we can also give this some padding on the edges, but before we do that, I think let's try to style these. So the city, we're going to make it a bit bigger. So we'll give it a style. It says text style. Then font size, we give it a font size of, let's say, we can give it a font size of like, let's say 50. Let's see what we have. You see what I'm saying? Okay, that looks good. But before we do that, let's give it some spacing between this this row and the container. Then we can just simply say size the box, give it a height of 10. Okay. All right. So the next thing is we can get this temperature. We enlarge the size a bit, so we can just copy the same style that we just gave here. So with this one, we give it the font size of 30. So then we go back to this one. Then we just make the font weight a bit bold. We can just make it bold. Okay. And I feel like we can just style this so quick. Let me just style this so quick and then we can get going from there. Okay, so this is what we have so far. But I feel like this is going to give us a bit of some issues when we come to styling this container. So we can just wrap this. Where is this? We can just wrap this inside the padding. Then we only give it, so only left of 8 then write 8.0 as well. So let's do that. Okay, I promised myself to make this as short as possible, but I feel like it's going longer than I expected. Okay, so I'm just going to speed this up a bit. So next thing we can just give this is the border radius. Okay. Okay, it kind of looks like the one we had in the beginning, but we just have to give it some padding, and so we can just say only, then say left. So we'll move it to the left a bit. So this is going to be this. Okay, so see it's moved. So we're going to do this for every thing in here. So inside the city, we're just going to put this. No, not inside the city. Sorry. We're going to put this on the temp. Need to round this off. Then we give it this. Then let's London degrees Celsius. It's funny. Okay, let's wait for this to load down here. Okay, so this is what we have. We've rounded it off, and it's now 7 degrees Celsius. So let's go to a hotter place like Lusaka. Okay, so which is 21 degrees Celsius. So this is how you can fetch the data from the OpenWeatherMap API. And I feel like I'll be making shorter videos from now because this has proven to be so long, to be honest. And maybe it's because I was mostly explaining certain things. And so with that being said, I think I'll see you in the next video, guys. And I don't know what I'm working on next, so I would appreciate it if you would like or subscribe. That would be so supportive. And yeah, see you in the next video.